I just want to know, how do you work? Precisely. How do you...
Now.
Well, how do you work now? We're going to begin with, one of the great films that I like of you is Exercises in Preparation for Independent Life. So we begin. There is such a freedom in the film, don't you think? When you look at it again, and there is really a craziness in the movie.
So long time ago.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember? Because at the beginning you didn't want to be in the animation field.
I was biologist, and then I period I like to be stuntman, but I was caricaturist. Then it's slightly turning one hand to animation and caricature. It's you can say this very small animated film, just one frame. Yeah. In one frame you have to give story. You have understood what before, what after. So the main thing is not drawing style, but idea. Then it went like this, that this visual side get more and more interesting for me. In a certain moment, I more or less stopped. It's in late 80s. I stopped to make caricatures, but I work like graphic artist. If I don't work on film, I work for exhibition and for selling. So, what was the question?
So, it's interesting when you say that. Do you think that the drawing for you, the idea, is more important than the movement?
But it's like generally. But if it's like I don't know. It's schizophrenia or no, but you make working on story. It's film. It's moving image, but there are timex. It means things happening in time. And then if I'm making one picture, either it's etching or working with big chocolate drawings, it's one fixed moment. So it's rather different things. And what is maybe biggest difference in animation, you almost having, even with computer, it's not so tough anymore, but you're having limits what you can do. It's connected to time and money and technical possibilities. But if I'm working with this fixed moment, I don't have this timex, but I have freedom to do what I like. And if we're working in this both medias, even in my films, I writing script, I making design for my heroes, I making layouts, I controlling the story. I am free to do what I like, but when I made decisions that this story it's fixed, then I don't have any more freedom. I have to draw this person like 1,000 times with the same nose, with the same eyes, and then just to take like break, undertaking. Empty space, empty paper, and you're doing something what you're drawing without any plans, This is a kind of balance between these two media, what I do.
But for us, for example, when you look, I remember seeing the first film that I saw of you, Night of the Carrots, and it seems like a real freedom, for either Norstein or Disney. Just to take, two opposite film, yours seems really something else, something really It seems me. I know it's a lot of work, of course, but it seems real freedom.
But it's maybe it's not just in animation, but maybe especially in animation that I have to make this film so that spectator don't thinking that he worked like 2 years to create this things what happening in few seconds, and that people say, oh, what a bright fantasy, and it's they getting this in I leading them in this direction, and suddenly turn, and oh, it's so surprising, so fantastic. They don't know that maybe I spent all week, to create this result, and it's not important. You have to make it so that spectator don't feeling this smell of sweat.
But how do you keep this energy? A lot of people in animation say that, like you said, doing 10,000 times the same drawing, you lose the energy of the drawing. In your film, it seems that there is always this energy in the drawing.
Maybe some people, there are people coming from different backgrounds and working in different way. So let's say if a person is animator and then becoming filmmaker, it means that background is to be animator. Somebody giving scenes to them, what to do. It's not invented by them. They don't know actually maybe even what parts they're having in film. And now if this such kind of person starting to make their own film, it could be that they still staying in the level. I know concrete persons who said that what would be better in life, sitting at home on your light table and you animating, but she's filmmaker, so she enjoy this process. How I make a film because I like to see final result. All this is I making this thousands drawings. I don't enjoy this so much, because instead of this, I can make a lot of drawings. What going to be, like every of them is piece of art, yeah. But now I'm working. But if I made decision to make this film, it means I have to go to the end.
So did you find something in sand? Because that's the first time, the last one you did in sand animation. There was something different in between sand animation and your drawings?
I find a person who is very good in sand animation. It's my wife Olga. She is really professional in sand animation. And our first co-production that we made together, it was a 2-minute film. This I feel a lifelong bullet in the back of my head. It was project in our studio. 7 persons made same film. Everybody had 2 minutes, and it have to be based on some Estonian poetry. And we planned to work together so that it would be for Olga to make it sand animation. And then she saw my charcoal drawings and said that, no, you have to make this in charcoal. It seems to me that how you can draw on glass light, and she said it's possible, and work out the way. And finally, I was this person who draw from morning till night. But now we're really working on sand animation.
And what is amazing, I saw only few pictures, and it's we know that it's a Priit Pärn movie. I mean, from the moment we
but
saw.
it's actually, we work out. It's not classical sound animation.
Okay.
It's in two levels, and it's if you know graphic techniques, printmaking. It's etching, aquafort, fort. Etching,
Oh, fort. Sorry. Yeah.
fort,
Sorry. Sorry.
and aquatinta.
Okay.
I had a quite long period in my life when I work in these techniques, making graphic art. Olga's background, she studied printmaking, and she's specialized to font. So on this, if you saw some frames, you can find that it's in a way imitating this like graphic techniques. To get this result without computer, it's impossible. So we're working first, and it's second film when I animating. First was this lifelong bullet. So I animating on paper, and then I repeating this on glass. Light from bottom, very thin layer of very fine sand, a drawing image, line drawing, then turning this in negative. There are a lot of technical problems because it would be perfect. It's like white line in black surface, and turning it's around, it's a black line in white surface, but it's black line in gray surface. And to get rid of this, it took time to work out system. We did this. And then, using this line, Olga doing again on glass with rough sand, making this dark surfaces, lighter surfaces, kind of shadows. And this we're putting this together in computer. So
Okay.
it's bloody hell a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you still get, well, you still add the energy from the first moment until the end, or?
You know, if you have been so long time in this business, and if you started with something and you made 60%, it's stupid to give up and say, no, we will stop.
Of course.
And this image is nice, and I think the story is good. The story is simple but good.
So the story is about, only so that it's kind of an erotic movie at one point.
Quite
yeah?
erotic movie.
Yeah. So it's not finished. Almost now.
It's the schedule is in March. We will make sound in Canada. It's co-production.
Yeah.
So till March, all what we're doing with picture, it means it have to be done. So finally edited everything correct, and I go to Montreal and
Do the sound. How do you work? You worked all alone almost, and then suddenly you're doing film with your wife, with Olga. Is it something really different, or you?
No, but all films before I made with studio.
Yes, with studio, but
people.
Yeah, but you were the one.
But always I had one person who I made character design like line drawing, and then there was another person who worked with colors, and from an 81 until 98, it was a person whose name is Miller Kilk. He is a fantastic painter, I think one of the best in Estonia. So he made this background in Hotel E, for example, of this colored bird created. So, and working together with him, I learned so much about color. I can now I can take responsibility to make colors for my film, but it was kind of all the co-production.
So it's always a collaboration. It's still a Priit Pärn movie, but
filmmaking is collaboration, So final touch, it's director, all this script and timing and so probably this film is going to be similar to Face of the director.
When I'm showing, well, there's a few films we know on DVD. There is a lot of on the internet bad quality. I have Time Out. Sometimes I'm showing Time Out to my students, and it's always something really disturbing for them. That's what I like, because it's such a, and I'm showing it at the beginning, because they only know Disney and Miyazaki and thing, and they see that, and of course they are really upset because there is no, for them, storyline. How do you work? If I have to tell my student, how do you work your story? Or do you work in a storyboard, or do you work all?
I think with every film it's a little bit different because what from the first idea is coming. You mentioned exercises. This time there was no line test. It was line test was cameraman showed this to black and white 35 millimeters. To go to laboratory, coming back next day, and it was put on loop. So you're sitting with animator and watching this several times and saying that here it's too slow, here have to do this and this. And watching this, I suddenly get that it's kind of funny sometimes, person repeating the same movement. And I thought that maybe you can use this, I can use this for my next film. So, repeating movements. And now it's kind of logical way of thinking. I'm going to look for story that you need this repeating. So, what is repeating? It's if you're learning something. I said, let's say sport is the most simple example, or a small kid doing something. You have to repeat the same movement until it's going to be automatic, or you are very good on this. So it means learning. Who learning? Somebody is teacher, somebody teaching, So you're coming to this that there are kind of older generation, if there are kids, to teach. So, and what he is teaching. And then you can teach really clever thing, or you're kind of, I came to this, that he stuck to some, there are, I think, 7 movements, what he can do, and he teaching this probably to his son, and now, again, there are 2 possibilities. Either he repeating immediately and he like to do this, or he don't like now, or he like and he can't, or so variations of this. In a certain moment, this guy, he can do this now. Now, small change in system of this. Now, he's fixed. If turning this telephone, I think, turning to another place, then all his world will crash. So it's so logical how you building up this. It's and it's like logical but very dry theme. Now you have to, it's like skeleton. Now, now you have to cover this skeleton with meat, with clothes and so on. So when finally what you can see, it has to be really bright and fantastic things, what you can see. If it's without humor and you can make the same story, very dark and depressive, somebody showing and somebody repeating, or you're making it like this. But question how I working mainly, I writing script, at the same time I already starting to draw some situations, some very rough storyboard, pieces of storyboard, and in very very early stage I going to draw, let's say in normal or in final working frame. So not same time I drawing very small and very abstract storyboard, and then I trying to draw this in right field, because it's a bit different way of thinking. If my frame is like post stamp, small, the basic composition is always better than if I take in big space. But there are no space for, in my head, if I'm watching to this, there are no space for small details. So if I drawing the same situation in bigger frame, then suddenly maybe I finding that, okay, I don't need two frames. I can put this previous frame in upper left corner, and I starting with zoom out from this. And so it's like we can call this also to keep flexibility. And this what one of part what I teaching to my students. Important rule that don't give immediately names to things what you have. Don't say that tall man or bad dog. You say somebody, something bad happened. Don't say immediately that fall down and break his leg. You having this on your mind, you can come back to this, but staying in such kind level, so then you have possibility to change this. Human brains are built up in strange ways that if you're saying something, it's fixed, especially in beginners. If they're showing this their storyboard and you're asking, but if it's possible that it's happening, turning not to left, but turning into right. No, it's it's turning just to right. How you know? It's your story. Why it's turning just to right? So find this flexibility with different techniques. How you're approaching to your story.
Maybe that's why Estonian film, and I don't know all Estonian. Again, I'm using freedom, but it seems like there is not a direction, the same direction for all the film. I mean, you don't have, the bad guys. Well, if he has to be big and, I don't know how to explain it, but it seemed like in a lot of American movie, even in French, and even there is, this kind of guy is bad. Mm-hmm. This kind of one is good, and he's a good one, and he's.
But it's it's cliche, and cliche is always boring. If you because in real life you can find that maybe the biggest bastard he's so nice person for outlooking, and the opposite. You're looking at gangster. But it's coming out that it's best person. Or example, about sound, I saying to students that always it's good to try if you're having, funeral. try like wedding music. You know, 90% it doesn't work, but if it's work, then it's really good. So trying to turn things upside down and doing something what or this first decision that is coming very easily, you're making just for throwing it away. You know, not sticking to this and saying, yeah, oh, good idea. If easy come, you know, it came already. Several places.
So you need time. I mean, today it's against almost is animation.
But you need, you know, if you spend your time working with, if you're talking about students, if they're making 5 minutes film or 3 minutes film. Anyway, they're working half a year or a year, and now what is different to spend 1 day for script or even 1 month? You know, if you're coming to this, that finally result of this, you know, developing your story, and you are sure that now it's very good, and then it's all the motivating you. It's nothing worse than after working few months animating, you suddenly getting that, oh my God, it was so close, a good solution, but now it's too late.
So the intention are the most important. The ideas, like you said, are the most important thing when you begin the film.
To be before production, to be sure that it's really, really good. That I am happy with this, you know. And if it's it's a professional filmmaker, it's his or her problem, you know. But if it's student, I think, and I am a young professor, you know, I have to help them not to start too early. You know, I never saying that you are not allowed to make this, but trying to find weak points in the project. If I'm finding this, I have to explain why it seems to me, and then they trying to explain that no, it's still work, and if they are sure, they could make their film like this. And I'm saying that if it's really going to work, I am ready to apologize. I was wrong. But mainly it's happening so that we're going to meet next day. I am ready to continue with saying, forgot I have no story. You know, I know that it was bad. So very often now it's sixth version of fifth story not going to production.
So you have to know, I mean, as a director, you have to know what you're going to do, even if somebody doesn't understand it. You're the only judge.
Yes, if you are a professional filmmaker, I think basically filmmaker, if it's not children film, then it's different. You know, you have to go to this level. If I'm working for making film for 3 other people, I have to know what they know. You know, if they are not able to read or write yet, I can use some text involved. But if it's if I'm lucky to make film like free filmmaker, then only measure is it's myself. You know, myself sitting in screening room without knowing this film yet. So, or my projection is somebody who thinking in some similar way like me, who is not too much more stupid than me, or not too much more clever than me. So, and this is one, I think, what professionals have to have to be able to check out. It's understandable for the spectator who look like me, because with students you can see it very clearly that they're giving some objects, they're giving so many meanings to this.
Oh, sorry, Valentine is my collaborator.
Yeah.
So Priit Pärn, and she was one of my ex-students, and she, if you don't mind, she's just going to take a few moment of camera, but we're just doing a show because I have a website, and we're going to do something about Carrefour of animation. So she's just going to, and she was with, they finished? Okay, so she was with Koji Yamamura and Ilan. So if you don't mind her taking, thank you. And so, where were we? About the fact that you are the only judge. For example, when you work with NFB, that was the first time. Did you sit in a room like that and you pitch them your story, or did you just say?
No, we're making just sound in Canada.
Okay, so it was just they said they bring a little.
They like to work with me like
okay.
a long time, and finally we came to this. We find that it's very good to work with Canada because they're having very well distribution system. They're going to be our distributors.
Of course.
They're going to go to festivals. So this what is quite weak points in Estonia. We're having quite perfect financing and all this what is connected to make film. But what happening after when film is done? To send to festivals, and it's mainly director have to do this.
So that's important, yeah.
Good for us.
So two last questions. Deux dernières très rapide. You don't mind? I'm just really quickly two last questions. So she's just could have a little bit. Just Jean Meyer, like 2 years ago here, was saying that when he's doing a film, he doesn't want to analyze this. It's not the public. And he doesn't want to. Sometimes the audience come to him and said, "Oh, your film is about that," and he said, "That's not what I wanted to say." But if they want to say that, that's
it's of course
not my.
I agree because what you can hear about your films, sometimes it's wondering, wow. But I think. Maybe a lot of people are not used to kind of language of film. If they have seen, let's say, kind of average American who have seen just cartoons, and suddenly cartoons, there are no stories. There are just it's a collection of gags, and suddenly animation telling story. It can be, it's surprising. But this is what I like to say that it's professionality of filmmaker that person who belongs to his target group is able to read this film text. It's the same if I am writing the text and there are sentences. I having all words for this sentence, but I don't know in what order to put them. So it's not readable. Even I will think that all this, chair and table and sitting and there are, but if they are in not the right combination, it doesn't work. And this professional filmmaker have to have this possibility to control.
Okay, the last question. We're going to do something this year at the Carrefour of animation. We're going to do something about politics and animation. It's now I guess animation is, going really in confrontation with reality around. It's always but Waltz with Bashir and all these films we're going to have. Do you think you're a political director?
No, definitely not. And I don't want to be. Here, maybe we have to put kind of line in time. It's films made in Soviet time and after. In Soviet time, if you was a real person, you always know who was your enemy, and it was so clear. And it doesn't mean that you identify yourself with kind of political movement. You was against the regime. If now to say that if I say I am political filmmaker, what does it mean? I have to identify myself with some kind of, I would say that my films for social democrats, or I am liberal, or I a Christian liberal filmmaker. What is my film? It's probably propaganda. I don't like to make propaganda. It's too easy. And to use animation like part of politics. It's too slow, it's too soft. Now, when my film is done, situation is changed maybe already. I think all my films, they are about human beings in kind of, but they are not in emptiness, they are in some surrounding. In some film, it's more important this interaction between these people. Triangle, for example, there are nothing doing with system around. There are just, it's typical triangle, two men and one woman. Hotely, there are two different spaces, but one person, this is main hero in this film, moving from one system to another. They are just, backgrounds for this.
So you're not, yeah. So no, but I'm not finishing. And I said that, Schmackmeyer said that it was the impossibility. Animation bring impossibility to the world, something that it's not real. That was kind of a political way.
In Soviet time, for me, to make animation, it was the same with my caricatures. In authoritarian system, everybody have to think in the same way, in the right way, so-called. And now, if I'm making something what is totally crazy, totally mad, absurd, so is not important that there are kind of criticism, but it could be that there are no enough food in shops. Everybody knows this. We can go to shop. But message was that somewhere is somebody who's thinking in different way. This was the real message. And plus, he managed to make his message using money of this same system. So this was kind of, it's not food, it's more like vitamin. If you're watching this and you're feeling, yeah, if it's even this time, if it was for 5 minutes after film, it's all okay. It's all okay.